May 24th, 2025. 2047 a.m. Somewhere in New England, a glass case sat empty. The warnings posted on it, warnings about what not to do, still faced outward. But the thing inside was gone. Within hours, the internet was screaming. The Annabelle doll, the one from the movies, the one the Warrens kept locked away, had escaped. Or had she? Tonight, we're following a trail that runs from a Connecticut museum to a Gettysburg funeral and ends with a comedian who now legally owns the most cursed object in America. The story of Annabelle didn't start in 2025. It started in 1970. 2 nursing students, a shared apartment, and a Raggedy Ann doll that wouldn't stay where they put it. By the time Ed and Lorraine Warren got involved, the doll had allegedly left notes, moved between rooms, left scratches on someone's chest. The Warrens took it and locked it away. For decades, it sat in their basement museum in Monroe, Connecticut. Visitors came from around the world. They took photos. They ignored the warnings. And some of them had accidents on the way home. The Warrens built their reputation on cases like this: Amityville, the Perron family, demonic possessions that became Hollywood blockbusters. But Annabelle was different. Annabelle stayed. Lorraine Warren died in 2019. Ed had passed in 2006. The museum closed to the public, and the question everyone asked was simple: what happens to Annabelle now? Tony Spera, Lorraine's son-in-law, became the gatekeeper. Director of the New England Society for Psychic Research. The man with the keys to a basement full of allegedly cursed objects. For years, he kept visitors away. Private tours only. Serious researchers. No influencers. No TikTokers. The doll stayed in her case, gathering dust and legend in equal measure. Then came May 2025. On the 24th, social media erupted with reports that the Annabelle doll had gone missing. Some claimed she'd ended up in New Orleans. Others said she'd simply left. The hashtags spread like fire. Annabelle missing. Annabelle escaped. News outlets picked it up. Paranormal Twitter went berserk. And everyone wanted to know, was any of it true? Tony Spera had to address it, and his answer was anticlimactic. The doll was never missing, he told Newsweek. We had taken the doll on a brief tour. A tour. The most feared doll in America was on tour. The viral panic that had gripped the internet for days? Marketing. For something called Devils on the Run. Here's where things get complicated. The Devils on the Run tour wasn't just about Annabelle. It featured items from the entire Warren Occult Museum. Cursed objects. Haunted artifacts. Dark souvenirs from decades of paranormal investigation. The organizer was a man named Dan Rivera, a promoter who specialized in paranormal events, ghost tours, haunted attractions. He saw an opportunity, and he took it. The tour hit multiple cities. Paranormal enthusiasts lined up to see Annabelle in person. No glass, no barriers, just the doll and her reputation. Tony Spera confirmed paranormal fans could witness the real Annabelle. But somewhere along that tour route, something happened. Something that true believers would later call inevitable. Something skeptics would call tragic coincidence. In July 2025, Dan Rivera, the tour organizer, the man who'd been traveling with Annabelle for weeks, died unexpectedly. The location? Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Gettysburg, one of the most haunted locations in America. Site of 50,000 casualties in 3 days of Civil War fighting. A place where ghost hunters have reported activity for over a century. The timing was noticed. Online forums lit up with speculation. Was this the Annabelle curse at work? Had the doll claimed another victim? To be clear, no one has publicly disclosed how Dan Rivera died. The cause remains unreported. What we know is when and where. The rest lives in speculation. But the story didn't end with Dan Rivera. Within weeks, the Warren estate was back in the news. Someone had bought the house, the museum, and everything inside it, including Annabelle. The buyer, comedian Matt Rife. If you're under 30, you probably know him from TikTok. Millions of followers, Netflix specials, and apparently an interest in the paranormal that ran deep. In August 2025, the deal closed. Matt Rife purchased the Warrens' home in Monroe, Connecticut. But here's the part that makes this story strange. He didn't just buy the property. He became Annabelle's legal guardian. Legal guardian for a doll. The paperwork reportedly requires him to maintain custody for at least 5 years. To keep her contained. To continue the protocols the Warrens established decades ago. Think about that for a moment. A TikTok comedian is now responsible for housing and protecting an object that multiple people believe has killed before. The story of Annabelle, according to dark tourism experts, represents something larger. It's a case study in how legends are built and how they're monetized. The original Annabelle, that Raggedy Ann doll from 1970, became a franchise. 3 feature films, cameos in the Conjuring series, merchandise, Halloween costumes. The legend became a brand. And like any brand, it needs maintenance, attention, occasional controversy. A missing doll scare that trends worldwide? That's not a crisis. That's marketing. But here's where the line blurs. Because people genuinely believe. Tour attendees at Devils on the Run weren't there ironically. They wanted to see evil. They wanted to feel something. And some of them, according to various accounts, felt something. Headaches, nausea, phones malfunctioning. The same symptoms that visitors to the original Warren Museum reported for decades. Is that the power of suggestion? The psychological weight of confronting something you believe is dangerous? Or is it something else? Tony Spera has always maintained the danger is real. He's told interviewers that the doll is attached to a demonic entity, that opening the case invites genuine harm. The Warrens kept detailed records. Every scratch, every illness, every car accident reported by museum visitors, all logged. A paper trail of alleged consequences. Skeptics see something different, a self-reinforcing mythology. People expect to feel unwell, so they do. They drive home nervous, so they drive poorly. Confirmation bias in its purest form. But Dan Rivera's death doesn't fit neatly into either narrative. It's not a car accident on the way home. It's not a scratch or a headache. It's a man who died in Gettysburg, weeks into traveling with Annabelle. Coincidence? Almost certainly. But almost isn't certainly. And that gap, that sliver of uncertainty is where legends live. So now Annabelle sits in Matt Rife's basement. The same house where Ed and Lorraine Warren conducted seances. The same rooms where they stored decades of allegedly cursed objects. What does a comedian do with a haunted doll collection? That's the question everyone's asking. And so far, Rife hasn't given detailed answers. Maybe he'll turn it into a media property, a YouTube series, a documentary. Or maybe he'll do what Tony Spera did. Keep it closed, keep it quiet, and keep the doll in her case. If you're someone who wants to see Annabelle, and a lot of people do, the options have changed. The Devils on the Run tour may or may not continue. The museum's future under new ownership remains unclear. What's clear is this: the legend isn't dying. Every news cycle brings renewed interest. Every viral scare adds another chapter. Annabelle has survived her creators, and she'll likely survive this transition too. Dark tourism experts point out that Annabelle represents a unique case, an object that exists both as documented paranormal artifact and intellectual property. She's real and fictional simultaneously. The films made her famous. But the films aren't really about her. The movie Annabelle is a porcelain Victorian doll, creepy in an obvious way. The real Annabelle is a floppy Raggedy Ann with yarn hair. That difference matters. The original doll isn't scary to look at. A child would hug it. And that might be the most unsettling part. The gap between appearance and alleged reality. So what do you take away from this? Maybe it's that marketing and genuine belief can coexist. That something can be commercially motivated and still mean something to the people who experience it. If you're drawn to these stories and you're listening to this, so clearly you are, consider what draws you. Is it the possibility that something exists beyond explanation? Or is it the story itself? Either answer is valid. The Warrens understood that. They built careers on it, and whoever owns Annabelle next will have to understand it too. If this kind of story interests you, hit subscribe. We cover unexplained events and strange histories every week, and there are plenty more chapters in the Annabelle saga still being written. Because here's what nobody's talking about. The Warren collection isn't just Annabelle. There are hundreds of objects in that basement. Shadow boxes containing allegedly cursed items, artifacts from exorcisms, photographs that aren't supposed to be copied. Matt Rife now owns all of it. Every shadow box, every case file, every piece of documentation the Warrens collected over 50 years of investigations. The legal arrangement reportedly requires Rife to maintain the collection for at least 5 years. After that, the future of the Warren Occult Museum is anyone's guess. 5 years. That's how long Annabelle is guaranteed a home. After that, she could end up anywhere. A museum, a private collection, or, if the marketing continues, back on the road. And maybe that's where she belongs. Not locked in a basement, but out there, where the legends are made, where the believers can see her, where the skeptics can explain her away. Because Annabelle isn't just a doll, she's a Rorschach test. What you see in hers is more about you than it does about her. The May 2025 disappearance proved that. Within hours of the rumor spreading, people had chosen sides. Believers feared the worst. Skeptics smelled marketing. Both were right in their way. The tour was marketing. That's undeniable. But the fear people felt, that was real. You can manufacture an event, but you can't manufacture an emotional response. And Dan Rivera's death, that's not marketing. That's a man who died doing his job. Whatever your beliefs about Annabelle, that part is simply tragic. His family deserves better than to have his death turned into curse fodder. But that's the price of proximity to legend. Everything becomes part of the story. So here we are, summer 2025. A comedian owns a haunted doll. A tour promoter is dead. And the internet can't decide if any of it means anything. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe Annabelle is just a doll with good PR. But tonight, somewhere in Connecticut, she's sitting in her case. The warnings are still posted. And the door is still locked. And if you're the kind of person who believes, well, maybe don't think about that too hard. Especially not at this hour. Especially not alone. Sleep tight.